Hello, my name is Brandon Rule. I would like to welcome everybody to our June 15th Planning Commission meeting. Before we get started here, let's have a little roll call for our commissioners. Delencia.
Yes, I'm here.
Great, thank you. Ray. I think she's hopping on now. Rebecca.
Present.
Thank you. Brooks.
Here. I'm here.
Got you, Brooks. Drew.
Present.
Oh, I saw his name up there. Oh, yep, there you go.
Hello. I'm here.
Gotcha,
here.
loud and clear. Arthur.
I'm here.
Thank you. Letitia.
Here.
Brian. Not on yet. And Ann. I see you there.
Hey, did you get Ray? I'm here.
Got you, Ray. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So we're just missing Brian Townsend so far. All right. We have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and get started. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from our last meeting, May 18th, 2020.
I just have my name up here.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
How much? Make them over what? Left over what? Peas and make
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Brooks. Have a second?
I'll second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Corrections? Okay, great. Thank you. Minutes pass. Okay. Let's see. Brooks and Ray. Get that noted. All right. Now we've got approval of those minutes. We'll jump right into our first meeting item. Before we do that, let me do a little housekeeping. The Planning Commission, Conway Planning Commission makes recommendations to the City Council on public hearing items. Items reviewed on this agenda will be considered by the City Council as early as June 23rd, 2020. Items not approved by the Planning Commission may be appealed to the City Council within 30 days of Planning Commission denial, with the exception of decisions made by the Planning Commission acting as Board of Zoning Adjustment. If an item is appealed to the City Council, a public notice will be placed on the property and at conwayarkansas.gov. Now we've got that out of the way. We will jump into our first item for discussion is the subdivision review. Only item there is the request for preliminary plat approval of Robin Marr subdivision phase 3. And if you guys recall, we looked at phase 2 last month.
So yes, the applicant is requesting preliminary approval of a 17-lot subdivision. It's located 600 feet east of the terminus of Lilac Drive. As Brandon just pointed out, this represents phase 3 of the Robin Marr subdivision, and phase 2 was approved at last month's meeting. The property is zoned R1, single-family residential. The proposed lots range from 8,400 square feet to approximately 13,800 square feet. These lots are proposed to be accessed by the extension of Lilac Drive. And as always, all new street extensions would require 5-foot sidewalks with a 6.5-foot green space. No waivers have been included as a part of this request. Planning staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat contingent upon the completion of the amended punch list and the associated conditions of approval. The proposed lot sizes and frontage widths are consistent with the requirements of the zoning district for this site. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Looks good to me, commissioners.
I have a question. Number 2 says wheelchair ramps shall be provided. Is this a special type of property?
No, all new streets and subdivisions and intersections are required to meet the ADA standards. It's just that no wheelchair ramps were shown on the originally submitted street and drainage plans. So It's just a correction needed before final approval could be given.
Okay, so these are wheelchair ramps to the sidewalks,
That's correct. At the
not to the, okay, gotcha.
Commissioners, any other questions? I see we have Mr. Tyler on board.
Yes, sir. I can answer any question for Tom and need, but it's pretty much a straightforward extension with a cul-de-sac, and it's the street and drainage has already been approved. We're just kind of waiting on a preliminary approval to get started.
Very good. And you're aware of the 8 conditions for the corrections on the plat?
We are, and we've pretty much taken care of most of them, but because of the time frame between the time we submitted and now, you can't really show it at the planning commission, but we do take care of all those.
No worries. All right. Commissioners, any other questions for the owner or for staff? Okay.
No questions.
Bring it back in then. Anybody like to make a motion to approve this preliminary plat?
Second.
I feel like I heard a motion from Rebecca and a second from Delencia and Drew.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Very good. Motion passes 6-0.
I just now got my audio back on that.
Thank you very much.
9. Thank you, Mr. Tyler.
See you all later.
Okay, now we'll move on to the public hearing portion of our meeting tonight. The first item on this agenda is the request for rezoning of property located at 1606 South Boulevard from R2A to R2.
Okay, so the applicant is requesting to rezone this property. They're at the corner of construction. There's a single family home there that they plan to demolish, and if approved. The comprehensive plan does indicate that the property is appropriate for single family, but much of the rezoned to institutional accordingly, so it's also not consistent. As part of the redevelopment process for this lot, the applicant will be required to replat the property, as well as have any designs for new construction reviewed and approved by the Historic District Commission, as the property is within the old Conway design overlay. Staff feels, or staff recommends approval of the rezoning request given the site's proximity to CBC and the Sally Cone campuses, and it is the rezoning is not likely to result in harm to the adjacent properties.
Very good. We have anyone else to speak in, or an owner to speak in favor of this project? Like Julie?
Hello. Yes, I'm Julie Taylor, and we're the owner of the property. And I just wanted to pass along, following our notification of our neighbors, we received statements of endorsement from both adjoining neighboring properties, as well as the property development folks over at CBC. So we have some community support there.
Fantastic. And Julie, I see your address here, 5 to Gray Cove. Is that correct?
My current address, yes.
Perfect. So we've got that for the record. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Oh, I'm sorry. We do have another comment coming in.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have a comment to read into the record from Donna Wright, calling for the Wright family, which includes herself and her mother, Esther. They reside at 1616 South Boulevard, and her family has owned the home since 1957. In her opinion, the house clearly needs to be torn down and something needs to be built there. She would prefer it be a one-story single-family home, but has no opposition to a duplex being built. She requests a one-story duplex if they must build a duplex because nothing in the area is 2 stories. She thinks the design for the duplex is beautiful, but does not fit into the surrounding area and that it will stand out and be out of place. Again, for the benefit of the commissioners, some of these elements are those that would be discussed before the Historic District Commission. With rezoning of this type, it's simply the use of whether or not a duplex is appropriate or not. The Historic District Commission can consider those design elements such as facade, story, height, all of those things.
Okay. Do we have anybody else online or on record to speak in favor of this request? Any opposition? Okay, seeing that there is none, we'll bring it back into commission for discussion. Commissioners, any questions?
I'm here.
I don't have any questions, but I'll be happy to make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Ann. So I have a motion on the floor by Ann
I'll second.
and a second. Was that Brooks?
Yes.
Thank you. All those in favor of this motion?
Aye.
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 And I as well. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very good. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you,
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Move on to item 2B, request for rezoning of property located at 645 Diane Lane from O1 to R1.
Okay, so this applicant is requesting to rezone the property from O1 to R1. They'd like to construct a new single-family residence on the property. The property's zoning is a result of a sizable rezoning back from 1991, where a large acreage was rezoned, and only a portion of that has been developed accordingly since then, primarily as New Life Church. A large part of Diane Lane, or the majority of Diane Lane, actually is still single family in nature. Down the zoning from O1 to R1 would result in a significant decrease in any potential traffic. And given that a considerable portion of the property at the northwest corner rests in the floodplain and that the site is accessed by an unimproved private gravel driveway, it's not necessarily suitable for office use, and the planning staff would recommend approval of the rezoning request accordingly.
Great. Thank you, Beth. Do we have any incoming messages? None? Okay. And I don't see we have anyone online. Anyone else to speak in favor for this project?
Yes,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is Bobby French, 1021 Front Street, my office. Y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I'm representing the owners, and basically they're just trying to build a house back behind that existing house there at the end. And it wasn't allowed in that zoning, so I mean they're just trying to rezone where they can build a house back there. That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any public members here to speak in opposition of this request to rezone? Okay, let's bring it back into commission. Commissioners, any discussion needed?
I don't have anything.
All right, I'd love to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the request.
I'll second.
Change the zoning from O1 to R1.
Thank you, Ray. I hear a motion from Ray and a second from Arthur. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And I as well. Any opposed? And anyone abstaining? All right. Thank you very much. Another Unanimous vote. We'll move on to item 2C, request to annex basically 6 acres located south of Ronnie Lane. Mr. Walton.
Yes, this annexation is located south of the Baptist Hospital. Ronnie Lane. Ronnie Lane is a 23-foot unimproved or improved, semi-improved collector. The property is bounded to the north by agricultural properties. It's currently in the floodplain and has been also been subject to some permits to remove it from floodway as well. The applicant has not stated what their intended use for it is long-term. However, they are seeking to annex the property as a one. So based on the stated use and those impacts, staff did not feel that it would have any negative impacts and all departments reviewing the annexation recommended annexation.
Okay. Do we have a representative for Mr. Thornton or himself online?
Yeah, this is Bobby French again. 1021 Front Street, my office. We annexed that front part of that several years ago, and I think he did some. He got some Corps of Engineer permits and stuff, and has raised this portion of the property. Most of it is up out of the floodplain now. Maybe not all of it, but the most of it is. So they're at some point he's wanting, develop it and do something with it. I'm not sure, exactly what he's going to do with it, but he wanted to go ahead and annex it in and start looking at possibly doing something in the future.
Bobby, did you all get FEMA to take it out of the floodplain?
We have not gone through that process yet. They've lifted it. We haven't got a LOMA on it yet. No, but they've done the work. They got the permits through the Corps and did everything. Got it filled up. Did some wetlands mitigation. They had, it's been a long drawn out process, but they're pretty much ready. He wants to go ahead and bring it in. I think at one time I don't know. I don't even remember exactly what the other part was zoned to the north, but for some reason I was thinking he possibly was going to put some duplexes. Do you remember what's the zone in the north part there?
It's A1.
A1.
The property to the north?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I think they were looking at possibly putting some duplexes, on that property at some point, or maybe doing a little PUD or something like that in there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, mainly, he's just wanting to bring it in now. Go ahead and bring it in and start looking at, getting sewer and water. And, it doesn't have anything right now.
Okay.
Any other questions for Bobby or for staff? Is anyone here to speak in opposition of this request for annexation? Okay, if there's no more public comment, we'll bring it back into commission for discussion. Commissioners, what say you?
I move that we grant the request for annexation.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion from Ray and a second from Delencia. And to approve this request for annexation, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye as well. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Motion also passes unanimously. Thank you, commissioners. Now we'll move to our final item for this evening. Item 2D, request to amend section 1301 of the Conway zoning code, or better known as the sign ordinance.
So staff was approached, we had a sign company approach us asking about expanding the areas where LED fuel price signs would be permitted. These are the sort of the digital copy signs that tell you what the price of gas is. So as it stands currently in the regulations, these are only allowed within a certain distance, about 1,500 feet of the interstate. Additionally, the way that the regulations are written, there is no limit on necessarily how large they can be within the confines of what that individual sign is. So you could have a fuel price sign occupy the entirety of what they're able to place in terms of a sign. This does not happen very often, but I have seen it happen in some other communities. Notably, there was one in Fort Smith along 540. What this sign ordinance change achieves is that it allows those LED fuel price signs to be placed throughout the city where signage would otherwise be permitted on, for example, for a freestanding sign. It does limit the amount of space that it could occupy. So it's limited to 40% of the sign area or 36 square feet, whichever is less. With these are required to be static, monochromatic electronic message signs that cannot change copy more than once per hour. So this is not, for some that may be concerned about this being a backdoor into electronic message displays or some other type of signage, it really can only be possible to, the way it's written, the signs are only able to display alphanumeric characters, which happens to be similar to what a fuel price would be on a sign. You'll notice some language stricken in there, particularly the definition for an LED sign. That is because the way in which the language is written, those definitions are no longer necessary as part of the regulations. And so the descriptor, or rather the requirements, are clear enough in the sections 207 and 303 such that it eliminates the need to have that. And again, these types of monochromatic electronic message signs that display only numeric characters are only permitted for automobile service stations.
Okay.
So what prompted this change?
We were contacted by a sign company.
Oh, the sign company. Okay, so what is the height of these signs? Or are they the ones that stick up real high in the sky? Or are they on the street level or what?
So these, where it would be permitted is on a monument sign, a freestanding sign. So our regulations require, I think freestanding signs can't be any taller than 8 feet, I believe, somewhere about there. Mm-hmm. So essentially what this does is, when we were approached, we couldn't really think of a good reason as to why an LED fuel price sign wouldn't be permitted everywhere else in the city. And so we sort of, the intent of this is to set about parameters to allow those elsewhere. Some of the reasons why these are beneficial in terms of the technology that's associated with these. It allows the sign company or the fuel company to update pricing sort of on a overall system. So whenever they deploy changes, it can be deployed immediately. They don't have to go outside and manually change the copy. That it's just a press of a button, or it's automatic where these can be updated.
Do you have an example of one that exists? Maybe for a non-service station?
You're saying for a non-service station?
Yeah, do any exist already around town that would look like that?
Yes, yeah.
Like what?
Sam's.
Who?
Sam's Club.
Oh, Sam's Club. Oh, I don't know how theirs looks.
There's some on Skyline as well.
Okay. You said they're 8 foot tall?
No, so they're currently permitted in the interstate sign zone. What this is doing is allowing it outside of the interstate sign zone. So where you currently see them are along the interstate What this would permit is if it's in a commercial office, institutional, or industrial zone where an automobile fuel service station is otherwise allowed, they would be permitted to have this type of sign in part of their monument sign.
So, just a question, if this were to pass, do you think that it may warrant additional questions from other industries on having the ability to have LED signs in the city?
I don't believe so, because this is just an expansion of what's already permitted in one portion of the city. The regulations and the difference between these type of numeric, monochromatic, static signs are very different from any other type of, digital video message or something along those lines.
So just to push back to get a full understanding here, if other industries or other type of, places, I guess, were to ask to have numeric LED signs that were not fuel stations, what would would they be able to do that?
No, these are only permitted for automobile service stations where they're specifically allowed by the regulations.
James, what about in neighborhoods such as I'm just thinking of an example, like the Come and Go on Hogan or the Come and Go on Dave Ward. Does that mean that they can have a taller LED sign than they already have now?
No.
Okay.
No, it just means that on a portion of that they could have a static monochromatic electronic message that doesn't change copy more than once an hour, that only displays numeric characters.
I'm not sure I have full understanding. I don't know what Sam's Club sign looks like. So how did Sam's Club get a sign if it wasn't already in the ordinance?
It's currently permitted. It's within as I stated earlier, in the interstate sign zone. These types of signs are already permitted. So what this ordinance change is achieving is that it is permitting these types of signs outside of the interstate sign zone.
So this sign company has had to have a request from someone specifically, like which specific place is wanting to do this? Because it didn't just, they had to have a specific reason why they wanted to do it outside of the interstate zone.
I'm not aware of the specific one in terms of allowing them. It's just that we were contacted about it.
So would this type of sign block view of traffic?
I'm sorry?
Would this type of sign block your view if you were like turning in or turning out? Because, for instance, that Tacos for Life sign, if you're trying to get out of there, you can't really see past that sign.
No, it's not changing anything in terms of where monument signage is permitted. It's not changing anything in terms of size. It's just saying that in areas where an automobile service station is already allowed on a monument sign, that a portion of the copy for that sign could be devoted to an LED fuel price. For example, where they currently have fuel prices on gas station signs, instead of it being something that's manually changed, it could be a static monochromatic electronic message that doesn't change copy more than once an hour, that displays numeric characters.
I think a good example would be like what we were just talking about, the Come and Go a second ago. If the amendment of this zoning code would allow Come and Go, for example, in a interstate zone, sign zone, they would have the option to add these numbering system to their existing monument sign, so long as it didn't increase the size or be above and beyond what is allowed.
So
there you go.
The image that you see, this is an example.
Okay, so if that's an example, how did they get it?
They fall within the interstate sign zone.
They do?
Yeah, yeah. The interstate's right by that.
But
taller than that, right? Like I'm okay with that height, but I guess I was just thinking about the ones that go in the air so that people from the freeway could actually read the sign. So that one is close to the interstate, but the other two come and goes that just popped in my mind are not. So I was just trying to figure out if they were 8 feet tall or however tall, would they obstruct anything similar to what Ray was talking
No,
about?
this will not change anything related to how tall signs can be. It only changes what type of copy can be on a sign.
Okay.
But outside of the interstate area.
But correct, yes.
So could that be anywhere in Conway?
Anywhere that an automobile service station is permitted.
Okay, I understand.
Okay, I have a couple more questions. I just didn't get to ask a minute ago. So, just to clarify, currently as it exists near the interstate, it's only fuel stations. Let's call them fuel stations. Automobile service stations can have electronic signage, correct?
Correct.
I guess I just want to understand. I'm supportive of this. I just want to understand why we are limiting it to automobile service stations if there were other businesses that could meet the numeric monochromatic threshold.
The original intent, whenever the ordinance was written, was to only pertain to these types of signs. Generally, my approach with zoning is essentially, I'll say this as an example. When someone approaches us about rezoning a piece of property, we generally recommend to them to do the least intensive zone that enables them to do what they want. And the reason that recommendation is made is that when you permit something by zoning, it's very difficult to take those rights away once they have been granted. And so this is an expansion essentially in the most limited way possible to accommodate the request that has been made by industry.
Okay. Well, I mean, very frankly, the answer was we're recommending to do this because we couldn't think of a reason not to. I mean, that's what we said earlier. So my question is, why would we limit it to businesses that could meet that same threshold? And if it's just because that's what we've always done and we're just expanding what currently exists, that's fine. I want to know, I want to understand why we wouldn't open it up to other businesses.
It is staff's opinion that in terms of digital video message signs, that it opens a little bit of a Pandora's box, to be honest with you.
Okay, that's fair, but that's what I wanted to understand.
I think we would get some pushback from other industries that say, hey, they got a sign, I want a sign. I think we would be opening a Pandora's box by doing this. That's just my opinion.
That was a good question. Not even on, sorry. That was a good question, Rebecca. Thank you, and good commentary. Any other discussion?
I will move to approve.
I'll second.
Who was that second from?
Brooks.
Thank you, Brooks. All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve the amendment of the zoning code for the sign ordinance for automobile service stations only. The first from Rebecca, or a motion from Rebecca, and a second from Brooks. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
And aye as well. Any opposed?
Nay.
Ray.
I'm just going to abstain.
Okay, and one abstention from Letitia. So we have 9, 7 against 9, motion passes. Yeah, sure. Let's do a roll call for the approvals. I had obviously Rebecca and Brooks and myself.
Delencia,
Delencia, Arthur,
And
and
Drew.
Gotcha. And with myself, that makes 7. For the record, thank you. All right, so we'll move on to our final area of discussion. Commissioners, now we can close our public hearing and move into any discussion you'd like to have.
is there anything else on the agenda?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'll make a motion to.
I do have a question. Is this just the, just our group now, or are any of can you check to see if all the public, I know it's on the whole meeting's on public record. We just had a question because we were, just having a discussion about the signs, and until the picture was shown, I just wasn't really having a clear understanding of it. And I couldn't catch all the voices, but, I was hoping that the questions that I in particular were asking were good questions, that they made sense, because I wasn't just trying to be difficult. I just wanted to get a better understanding. And so just kind of wanted to clarify that, because several people made comments, but just didn't understand if my questions were understood.
No, it's great to ask questions. That's James speaking.
Yeah, and I'll second that. I appreciate the questions.
It was just kind of hard to visualize what we were talking about here. The vote has been made. So I'm just concerned with the corner stores having signs that's going to block these people. But that's why I opposed.
Sure, and I think that was the help with reinforcing Rebecca's question too, like why not other industries? And I think that's, obviously the reason why we're tailoring this just for service stations, because we don't want to open up that box for all other types of industry to start having these sorts of signs that they can change.
yeah, I just wanted to just make it a point that all questions are good questions. I think that probably that comment is maybe the reason that we're in this discussion right now. But I think anytime we have an opportunity to have a question, I think it's fair for us to be able to address it and feel that it is a good question.
Absolutely.
100%. That's why we're here.
Well, if there being no further business, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You'll have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.